So you want to be a writer. Maybe you've got a story to tell, but now what? Welcome to the Author Strong podcast, where we'll take you from the first page to being a published author by providing you with the tools you need to succeed. Now welcome your hosts, Matt Morris and Nancy Elliott.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Author Strong podcast, where we give writers the tools they need to succeed. My name is Matt Morris, and as always, I am joined by Nancy Elliott. Nancy, how's it going?
It's going pretty well this afternoon / evening.
Awesome, awesome. And we are joined also today, we're doing our second live show, which is wonderful, and we are joined by Zach Bohannon. Zach, how's it going?
It's going great, Matt. How you doing?
I'm doing fabulous. I'm actually a little bit nervous right now, so I hope that doesn't come across too much, but I've been stressing this live show for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, at least we can't see your face, so.
Yeah, it's true. I get to cover up with like this whole pirate outfit, right? Or something like that. This is my protection, my false identity here. And we are also joined by New York Times and USA Today best-selling author Mimi Strong. Mimi, how's it going?
Hi, it's great. It's nice and warm here today in Vancouver, Canada.
Oh, it's Nancy mentioned this earlier in a little group that we're in, but it was a very toasty day in Houston as well. The last couple days have been pretty warm.
Mm-hmm.
It hit,
our igloos are melting. It's weird.
No.
Yeah, it's tough here in Canada. The dog sleds are not functioning.
My car said my car said it hit, or when I was driving earlier, it said 100 on the little readout, which is probably not completely accurate because I was on the street and the street just gets warmer, but it was still pretty warm. Warm outside.
I'd believe it. I had to reapply my makeup. I know.
I almost did, but
okay.
I muscled through.
You managed to make it work. That's good.
That's why he's wearing the pirate mask.
Yeah, and the beard. The beard makes it. There's so much less space for makeup, right? So, excellent. So today we are talking about we have a second live show. So first and foremost, thank you guys for thank you both Mimi and Zach.
Yes,
for joining
thank
us.
you.
And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And so today we wanted to talk about some of the recent changes to KDP Select. And then so. Nancy and I recently I think we released it yesterday. I think it was episode 56, but we recorded this episode where we just wanted to do a primer because we've been trying to focus this month on just kind of doing some getting a little bit more in depth with some of the stuff that goes on with Amazon and keeping it very simple to focus it towards newer people who are not familiar with it. And so we just did this little primer on KDP Select on here's essentially what KDP Select is, here's some of the advantages, some of the disadvantages. And then, 2 days after we recorded that episode, Amazon went and changed some pretty core parts of Kindle Unlimited, which we spent a little time talking about. And I've already had people come back and say, hey, so you just released an episode, and, none of it was right. And I was like, well, most of it was right, but there were some key differences, right?
Right.
It's a historical piece now.
Yeah, it's no longer evergreen, I guess.
Yeah.
Such is life. So when they made that change, I was like, you know what, we should do that. That's the topic for the next live show because I hadn't thought of a topic yet, and I was like, that would be a perfect topic. And then we just released, our episode about KDP Select right before it. Now we can add this as an addendum, as a hey, things have changed a little bit since 2 days ago when we talked about it.
Right. LOL. Just kidding. Go here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, I had a lot of questions earlier, so if anyone's listening, you can leave comments also on our page. If you're listening in live, so we'll be checking in there occasionally. If you've got comments or questions, we'll check those. Also, today's the deadline for a giveaway that we're doing, right? For the
Yep.
I should have had it out for an AlphaSmart along with some Amazon gift cards and whatnot. We've had a lot of submissions coming in recently, which is exciting to see. And but I know someone had emailed me and asked me if the deadline was last night, like they had to be in before today, or if it's tonight. And really, deadline's today. So anytime today, just submit it, podcast@authorstrong.com, and any format that works for you works for us as long as we can read it, and then that's that. So get that out of the way. So perfect. So let's talk a little bit about the changes to KDP Select, and specifically, I think it's mainly just specifically Kindle Unlimited, right? So we had talked about on the episode a couple days ago that the way it paid out was, you enroll in KDP Select, and then your book is available in Kindle Unlimited, and anyone can borrow it if they're a part of the KU program. They can borrow the book, they can read it, and the way it used to pay out, what really changed was the payout structure. And what changed about that was under the old model, once they read 10% of the book, you got credit for the borrow. So you got whatever the payout ended up being, which is calculated after the fact. And that might be something we want to come back to, but it was ballpark $1.30, $1.40 in that somewhere in that range every month. So now that's changed, and Amazon is no longer paying by the there's no longer a watermark to hit 10% and you get full credit. What they're doing now is they are paying by the page actually read. So if someone reads 2 pages at the end of the month versus calculating a whole, they take their pot of gold, right, and they divvy it up by total borrows. What they're going to do is divvy it up by pages read overall. And then however many pages you had read in the program, that'll be your, do the math and divide, and that'll be your part of the pie or the pot of gold. So that's what we're here to talk about.
Okay.
And talk about kind of the impact of it and how it's going to affect everyone and because there's a lot of people talking about it right now, and there's a lot of
a lot of opinions.
There's
Some strong, some not.
A lot of misunderstanding too, I think.
Yeah, a lot of
I think even
headlines going around.
Yeah, even just the like that term, pay per page. They're not paying us per page. They're using the pages to calculate our share. So they're still paying us by our share, our representative, our whatever, our total of the things that are read. So but saying pay per page kind of implies that there's going to be a set rate per page,
right?
And there isn't. It's still the same amount of pie, and they'll cut the pie into all the pieces. They're just using a different formula for splitting. It's still the exact same amount of overall money that's coming to us. So it's bizarre that some people think that, now everyone is going to get less. But that's not possible. Some of us will get more under the new share payout system, and some people will get less. But
so
money's not going to evaporate.
And so why don't we clarify that a little bit? And that's why I mentioned when I kind of said that we might come back to it just a second ago was the way it was actually calculated. Let's say that Amazon set up a fund, right? And let's just say that the fund is $10 million a month. So every month they've got $10 million, and that's what they're going to pay out to all authors in the Kindle Unlimited program. No more, no less. And so what they would do under the old method was they would just take overall qualifying borrows, and that's borrows with 10% plus, and you added all those up, and that was going to be the $10 million pie. However many borrows you had of that total was what you got paid. And so that has now changed, and what they're going to do is instead of those qualifying borrows, they're going to take what are the overall, and this is my understanding, maybe you might have a different understanding, so definitely correct me if I'm wrong. My understanding is that what they're going to do is they're going to take overall pages read in Kindle Unlimited for the month, and that's going to be the overall pie. However many pages you had read of total, so your read pages will be the numerator, total pages is the denominator, times whatever the ended up page rate being out of that 10 million. And so that's my understanding of how it's going to be calculated going forward. Is that your understanding as well, Mimi, or Zach?
Yeah, it's the same thing. If you well, here I'm going to give an example. I might get my math wrong, but it's like with fractions. 1 divided into 100 is the same as 10 divided into 1,000.
Yes.
It's the same number. And so instead of a flat rate book unit, they're using page units. So if you have a 100-page book, before you would, and let's say that someone reads it straight through, before you would get like 1 credit, and now you will get 100 credits. But the number on the bottom will also have more zeros. So if you were in KU before now, we don't know what the average length of book is that was in there, but I'm just going to ballpark it. I would say maybe 40,000 words is probably the average, because there's a lot of serials, a lot of short stuff, and there's a lot of long stuff. So I don't know, let's just say ballpark it. I would not be shocked if a 40,000 word book under the new regime gets paid out $1.35. But like that's my expectation. I could be totally off. It could be way higher. It could be way lower. But
Yeah.
I mean, short books are 5,000, 10,000 words. Some of the erotica shorts are even shorter than that. And long books are, I don't know, 100,000 words, something like that. I mean, I know there are longer books that are in KU, and those people feel really burned about getting $1.35. But so the average book is going to fall in between those two numbers, and you would think they would then get the average payout. But I mean, we don't know. We don't know. I don't have the numbers to know. It could be that people are almost entirely borrowing short books through this because they're a type of reader maybe who just really enjoys reading shorter books. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then, well.
It's gonna be really hard. I'm of the same mindset as you. So I think the distinction here is that as long as people are reading your books all the way through, and they're not stopping after a page or two, then I think there's a good chance you're going to end up making more money, provided that you're just putting out the content, right?
Well, if your books are longer than whatever the average book in KU is, and that's a number that we don't know, you can you can look at the charts and you can take a guess at it. This is how I've come up with my personal theory that the average length of book was like 40,000 words. Just looking at sales charts and seeing what's popular and my own personal experience. But so I mean, a person who has 100,000 or 100,000 word book, and their book is getting read straight through, that person's not going to be getting less than $1.35.
Right.
They're going to get more than $1.35 because that's pretty much the upper end of the length of books that are in this program.
Yeah.
So those people should be happy. Even the people who I know who write short erotica, none of them are crying out that this is unfair to them as a way of being paid. Even the people who are going to be hurt very, very hard in the wallet, they're not saying that this payout is unfair. They're saying that it's a little unfair and it sucks that they didn't have more warning about it, and that the old system has been in place for a year, and they sort of built a business plan around doing business a certain way, and now things are changing. So most of the people I know who are upset about it are just like upset that it kind of sucks for them, but they're not saying that the payment is unfair. My sense is that most of the people that I socialize with in the indie author world are in agreement that this is probably the way they should have paid it out right from day one.
I agree.
Like a year ago. It's kind of silly that that they, in retrospect, you think, wow, flat rate for any length of book? Gee, I wonder how terribly wrong that'll go.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why you saw there was a big influx, I think, of a lot of shorter work, and I think that this is largely a response to that.
Yeah.
Well,
but what if
know
someone reads a book another time? Like, how does that count? Is it just once? Like,
what I've read, and again, a lot of this is just conjecture because we don't have it. It's not being implemented until July, right? And we're recording this in late June. But what I've read is that what will happen from a mechanical standpoint, so you've got your Kindle app, or whatever.
Right.
And anytime it's online or you've got that 3G connection or Wi-Fi or whatever, it syncs up and tells Amazon just where you're at. And that's part of how WhisperSync works, where the book always knows what's the latest page read. And my understanding is that then for every page that gets read, it'll count it as a qualified read once. So if you reread it, it won't count it because it'll already know that you've already been through that, right?
Okay, right.
And then that's how you get paid, and then you'll get paid for the full book that one time when it's read a full time by a single person.
Okay.
That's
my
understanding on how that mechanically works.
Okay.
And so, I'm not sure if you guys have heard anything else, but I know, Zach, you were gonna make a comment earlier about length.
Well, I was just gonna say that, two things real quick. For one, I mean, this whole thing just proves that you shouldn't base your whole business plan around one particular, retailer, or one particular aspect of a retailer. I mean, you said it yourself when we opened the show. I mean, you guys just had an episode on Kindle Unlimited, and now it's already changed. So, I think that, for me right now, like Kindle Unlimited is awesome, but it's not my long-term plan. Like long-term, I want to go wide,
Right.
but it's working for me now. The other thing I wanted to say about length was, I think a lot of people, in a way, the reason they're so mad, and this is just my opinion, just from the brief 5 minutes of my life I wasted on keyboards reading about this stuff, is that I think a lot of people aren't necessarily. I think they're mad because they may have that 40,000 word book, but now they have to get people through all 40,000 of those words, not just 4,000, which means they're going to have to write better books. So I think a lot of people, are in a way kind of freaked out about that, in a way, personally.
Mimi, I'm interested in your thoughts on that that kind of structure, because you don't see that structure anywhere else in media consumption, right? And I've heard that argument made a lot, and it may not be really relevant for what people should do, because that's the way it is. It's not like it's gonna, once it gets implemented, it's not like we're gonna say something and it'll change. But I'm interested just in your thoughts on that, the idea of only getting what people actually get through. Like for anything else, like if people were to, say your book is available in Kindle Unlimited, if they actually purchase the book, which is still an option, you get full credit for that immediately. They don't actually have to read anything, or they can only read part of it, or whatever the case is, but you got credit for a sale. So I guess it's an interesting kind of just premise of changing it from that to, actually only getting paid for parts that are read.
What Kindle Unlimited showed me, in an undeniable way, was what percentage of the market was, I don't want to say hoarding books, but stockpiling books, purchasing books that weren't being read. Because when KU rolled out, overnight, my romance sales and my revenue dropped 70% in August 2014, right after KU came out. It dropped 70%, and I almost immediately did go and put a lot of those books into KU, and I didn't get back those lost or missing sales as borrows. So what that told me was a lot of people who were buying the books were kind of like stocking up for a rainy day, just like buying. My estimate is like it kind of seemed like people were buying like 3 or 4 books for every one that they read based on my KU numbers. And so I couldn't really get upset about that because we authors want to get paid for writing books that people actually read. I don't want to, well, if someone wants to pay me for a book they're not going to read, I mean, I'm not going to turn it down or anything, but I just thought, like, what am I upset about? Am I upset that people aren't, like, buying my books and not reading them? It's okay, I have to just work a little harder to find people who are buying my books and reading them right away. And after the KU first rolled out, I actually started working on changing my entire business plan. And as for this whole idea of not basing your business plan on one venue, of course I base my business plan on Amazon and what Amazon does this week and what I think they're going to do next week. What else would I base it on? I'm not going to base it on my personal desires, because that's not going to help me. It's not going to serve me in the future to focus so much on like what I want and how I want things to be. I mean, I would like a pony, and like I would like house prices in Vancouver to be a little different from how they are right now.
Right.
It's pragmatic.
So yeah, of course I base I don't know if you guys knew this, but I'm the person who coined the term indie prawn on keyboards.
I knew that.
That's my little claim to fame. But that's how I feel. It's like, it's ridiculous for us to get angry. Like, we're little prawns. Let's all light our little tiny pitchforks here at the bottom of the ocean. It's like, no, Amazon doesn't care. So just like be a smart little prawn. Be a smart little prawn and go get on a little rife raft with your prawn friends and figure out how to do something and make the best of it.
It's
I mean, come
amazing.
on, like, we're so small, right? Like, I'm not going to be like a little chihuahua, like, I think I'm a big dog, ruff, ruff. It's like, no, I'm not even a
Right.
chihuahua. Anyways, that's just my little meek Canadian lady point of view.
It's amazing to me how much time authors have wasted over the last week, 2 weeks, like blogging, like Amazon should make these changes. They're not going to listen.
No.
Yeah.
But believe me, you know, and I talked about this last week when we were on the self-publishing roundtable, Matt. I mean, you know, I ship to Amazon every week at my day job, and I mean, believe me, they're not going to listen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I'm grateful. I'm very grateful that they've given us all the opportunities that we've had so
I agree
far.
with that 100% too.
Yeah.
Anyone who's complaining, it's like they invented the Kindle, and they're why we're even having this conversation.
Exactly. Like when I was a kid growing up, I didn't even dream of being an author because I just knew how unlikely it was. And for me to actually get to do this for a living, for my calling, for my passion in life,
Yeah.
I'm forever grateful to Amazon for that. I'm a little surprised that Kindle, like an e-reader, when you look at it, when you hold it in your hand, you think, this is so simple. Why didn't this exist in the 80s? You know, I mean,
Right.
I'm not an engineer. I don't know the technology, but you're like, this is like not really that much more complicated than like a solar calculator or something. Like, it's crazy that it took as long as it did. But anyways, I'm happy it eventually happened.
Yeah, it's I agree.
We're living in the future, guys.
Someone asked, how do you guys
Exactly.
think this will affect the KU All-Star bonuses?
And
Oh, it's 100 people. Oh, I guess it's more than 100 people. It's 100 people and 100 books, isn't it?
yes.
I would imagine it might shuffle.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine it might shuffle them around a bit, but I would
I think the
imagine
premise is still going to be the same. It's just going to be based on the different. It's going to be based on the new criteria versus the old criteria.
Yeah, I was surprised at how few borrows it took to get it. Like, I was in the top 100 authors, I think, 2 months maybe that I got it, and I did not have a new release or anything exciting going on.
Wow.
It just had a lot of titles in there, I guess. But I mean, I don't want to sound ungrateful, but like, it was great. It was $1,000, but I'm not going to change my business plan for $1,000. It's not quite enough. Right. You know, if you are selling on other platforms, and it's extremely stressful. Like, I feel like the All-Stars was the first time Amazon did something that actually made me mad, because I feel like it made us feel like we were in competition with each other instead of in cooperation with each other.
Yeah.
I just feel like it was just a really bad thing for our morale overall. It's a shame. Like, I had a lot of ugly feelings that came up from that I had to deal with. Like what? Like, someone gets to be an all-star and I'm not an all-star? It's a total, like, picked last for the soccer team feeling, isn't it?
Popularity contest.
Like, all-star?
I mean, it is a yeah.
Ooh, that burns.
No gold star for you, Mimi.
Yeah, I know. Except for when I did get it, and then it was
right.
It was a real hollow victory. It was like, oh, now I feel like a jerk. I ranted about it for weeks, and then, like, they gave it to me, and I was like, ugh.
I don't even want it.
I'll just cash it and spend it, but I won't like it. No.
Yeah. Spiteful spending.
So MJ Khan, and I don't know if I pronounced the last name right, so I apologize. Had a couple comments on the website. The second one, what if everyone decided to pull out of KU? It doesn't matter what would happen if that's never going to happen. So I don't necessarily we don't even need to talk about it. It's not going to happen. The other thing, though, and this is kind of talking a little bit more about what people should be doing. And so the question was asked: would you take a longer novel and split it into two? And so I'll share my thoughts first, and then I'd like to get Zach and Amy both your thoughts. My thoughts initially are: you need to tell a good story, and whatever story length that is the story length that it is. If it needs to be shorter, then it needs to be shorter. If it needs to be longer, it needs to be longer. I don't think you should arbitrarily break it up. Also, under the new payout structure, I don't think that you should arbitrarily break it up, because you're not actually going to be getting now like 2 borrows versus 1. You're just going to be telling a story, and you don't want to alienate those readers. You want to tell something good, and that will keep them turning the pages. And breaking that up might hurt that, and you're not going to get anything out of them looking at 2 other than visibility on sales charts. But I'm interested to get your thoughts. Zach, what are your thoughts on that, about taking longer books, breaking them into shorter books under this new model, or in general?
I honestly, this kind of goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. I don't think that you should necessarily do any one thing to, try to. I don't want to say game the system, because that's not really gaming the system, but you're doing something,
it is kind of gaming. It's affecting your decision for sales.
And I agree with you, Matt. I think that people just write books. If it's a 50,000 word story, it's a 50,000 word story. If it's a 100,000 word story, it's a 100,000 word story. I just don't think you should be doing that. Like trying just to write books for Kindle Unlimited or whatever, because it's just not. And that's kind of what I was saying earlier when I was saying that's not a long-term play, and it's not really, because things can change on a whim. That's just my personal opinion. So
I agree. I know that came up before, where my advice to people is to make sure that you're not writing to Kindle Unlimited, you're writing to your readers. And so Kindle Unlimited is just how they're getting your book, but Kindle Unlimited is not your audience. Your readers are your audience. And I think that's an important distinction that gets lost. So Mimi, mention your thoughts on manufacturing book lengths to fit a sales model. I think really that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, the really great thing about this change in the payout structure is you don't have to make that hard decision anymore. It used to be an issue, and now it's almost not an issue. There are some advantages to having more titles. You might have more visibility if you have. I mean, I've put out serials. I've got a couple pen names, and one of them did really well with serials before KU came out too. And you can have like a nice little waterfall of all your book in the also bots of someone else's books, because you have 5 titles in your serial, and if someone does a keyword search on it, well, Amazon's going to blast back 5 search results that are all yours. So visibility and having more exposure out there is still a valid reason for doing serials. I mean, a serial is, it's not the same as just taking one book and splitting it up. The serials that I did more recently were kind of a TV kind of structure.
I think that's really important to distinguish.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the things that we don't really talk a lot about in craft of books is we don't really talk very much about attention span. And it's been something I've been giving a lot of focus to lately, because I used to just pop in some arbitrary chapter marks at the very end after I'd finished my whole draft. Oh, sorry, that's that beeping sound was my iPad, sorry. I don't know, it's an alarm from 3 years ago, and I don't know how to turn it off. So I'm a super high-tech author. Where is it going with this? Yeah, I would just put in chapter breaks, willy-nilly at the end. And I've been talking with this other friend about craft and about attention span, and about how you might want to have a chapter actually end in a way that feels final, and then have that next chapter open with kind of more of an introduction, and so that the person, they can put it down. I mean, a person putting down the book for the day is not our enemy. I mean, a long book can be quite long. Are we really expecting people to sit there and read our book for 9 hours? Like, that's kind of a weird, I don't know. Like, that's, even Netflix doesn't do that. They'll release the episodes, but you'll notice that they still have them split into episodes. Like, we watched the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt or whatever it's called. It was really good, but I didn't want to watch that whole thing as like one ongoing narrative, because sometimes you just needed like a break, like go do something else with your life. So bringing this back to serials and splitting up books and whatnot, if you can create something with the narrative structure that has natural break points in it, it can be a really nice way to allow people to slip out of it, have a life, do something, and then slip back into it. If they like your story, and if they like the entertainment experience that you're giving them, they'll come back to your story. even if you don't have a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter.
Agreed.
Now, I will say though, there are some types of stories that do have a problem with getting people to come back, and it's if you a lot of lighter, more comedic stories. So, for example, like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or Universe. I always get that title wrong. Sorry, apologies. When you put it down, you're not really worried about what's going to happen to the characters. So even though you're enjoying it and you're laughing while you're watching, up a lighter, more comedic book. So, but I don't know where I'm going to this, but so genre is a factor. But I think it would be helpful for all of us to start thinking more about attention span and finding out more about how people do enjoy our content. I had with my serials, we had this. I worked with another friend, and we worked together co-writing on this one pen name, and we would release one on Friday, and the readers were excited, and it would be a 2-hour read, and they would get it on Friday, and they could just look forward to it all week and then read it on the weekend whenever they got time. And it was just not like appointment reading, but kind of. Anyways, I think there's a business model in that we could take advantage of if only we could produce content fast enough. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, put out a 30,000-word serial episode every Friday. It's quite another thing to actually do it. Like, especially when you have a case of the crazies and you can't even put 2,000 words together in a week. It's hard.
Yeah, that can definitely be hard. I like your point, and we had this. I got this comment recently on our podcast of talking more about some of the structure that goes into shorter works. And I think that it's a valid thing that people should be considering and looking at, and something that we haven't really talked about before, but I want to talk about more on our podcast in general. Is just talking about structure of shorter works and how to structure them, because you shouldn't end everything in a cliffhanger. Sometimes it's appropriate, and sometimes it's not. It's not an absolute rule, as nothing is an absolute rule in writing. And giving people that breath, that space to kind of put the book down, process what they've read, go do something else for a little bit, and then come back and still be interested to pick it up. They just don't want to read it right now. They want to read it tomorrow. I think that's
right. Like it's not a battle of the wills between me and my enemy, the reader, who's always ready to throw my book across the room and never pick it up again. You know, it's not that. It's not like it's my job to like terrorize them into reading 8 hours nonstop until they get to the end. Except for in certain genres, I suppose. But even in thrillers, it kind of slowly builds up. You know, something creepy happens at the beginning, and it kind of just, the tension kind of escalates. And with a thriller, you kind of you stay up really late reading it when you get to the end, like those final few chapters you might do as a marathon. But anyways, this is a whole craft thing. But it's very interesting how technology and storytelling and craft are all kind of converging together. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on right now.
Yeah, because a point that that you made that I agree with is I actually pay more attention to how long my chapters are than my overall book. And going back to the technology thing, I know when I'm reading a book and I'm on my Kindle, and it gives you that little at the bottom, it tells you how much longer you have left in a chapter. I know that I love when I turn the page and it says like 6 to 8 minutes, but if it says like 15 to 20 minutes, I kind of groan a little bit because I want to get to the end of the chapter, but I might not have 20 minutes right then.
Right.
So I agree with you on that. I think that's a really good point.
And that's because you're used to the format of the revelation coming at the end of the chapter.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you're used to, that whole 15 minutes is just going to be like try-fail cycle or setup or whatever. And I like short chapters. Now, doing a mystery series, my chapters are pretty short, usually just 2 scenes in them, sometimes just 1 scene. I like that. I try to hit 2,000 words for a scene. And just, I don't know, I guess I'm becoming even more nerdy about storytelling as time goes by, which is really great because it helps get you in the mindset of I'm not just working on this book. I'm not just looking forward to this book being done. I'm excited about building my craft as a storyteller and learning more technique. And as a side effect,
Right.
I'm going to get this book finished eventually. I hope, I
Right.
pray. Today I was working on, or maybe it was yesterday, I spent 2 hours working on one chapter of a book that, technically I should have already uploaded it for the for
Uh-oh.
the pre-order, but I just it's hard. It's a hard chapter, and I just thought, I haven't nailed it, but I know if I can just nail this chapter that's really complicated, then I know I can do that kind of a scene in a future book. So,
Yeah.
anyways, it always comes down to craft, though, doesn't it? I mean, if you have great product, there will always be ways
Right.
to package it, split it up, stick it together, bundle it, co-op with other authors.
I agree.
I think it's an important point, and that people probably have lost a lot of sight on with this change is that their focus should still be on creating new content and getting more written and getting the next book written, and not to lose sight on that there will be changes that come and go with payouts and with the business end of it, and you need to stay on top of that, but not at the cost of actually creating the content in the first place.
Right, and there are some kinds of content where, like, if you're just doing one-offs under a bunch of different pen names and you're trying different genres, the quality might not matter as much. But when you get into a series is more like a long-term investment, and I realized that a lot of my stress was coming from time, that I felt like I wasn't doing as good of a job as I would like to do on some of these books because I was feeling this pressure to get them out every 3 or 4 months or something. But I found that just by deliberately slowing down, it just took a lot of the pressure off.
Exactly. Okay, so we are coming up. We got about 20 minutes left, so I wanted to definitely emphasize to anyone listening to this live, if you've got questions, go ahead. We are monitoring it, so go ahead and just leave them. Let us know. I did want to shift gears a little bit towards what should people be doing kind of going forward. Zach, I know that you kind of got cut off earlier, and then you got you got your call dropped. I know I think there was something you wanted to say. So
yeah, I'll be quick because I know you want to, but this goes back to the KU stuff. So I know earlier you had mentioned, and I've heard other people bring this up, that we've never seen in other types of media or whatever where, like, if someone, this whole structure where people have to get to a certain page for us to even get paid, or we're paid by pages, like it goes back to, people either buy something and we get paid for it or they don't.
Right.
But I will say that this same thing is going on in the music industry. I spent a lot of time around the music industry. For years and years, I live in Nashville. I have friends that are signed to major labels. When you hit play on Spotify or any of those streaming services, like, artists don't get paid. You have to get to a certain part of the song before the artist gets paid. And they're getting paid fractions of a penny for that.
Yeah.
So that's a really good correlation, because there's a ton of correlations between how our industry is going and where the music industry is. I don't think it'll quite get to that because people consume a lot more music than they do books, and it's a different type of consumption because it's much more of a long-term commitment. But there are a ton of correlations between what's happening with the music industry, which is dying, and what's and with books. And I don't think books are going to go to the point, like I said, where
and with television also.
And exactly, same thing. And so that's the only thing I want to add real quick, because I know a lot of people have brought that up, and it's like, no, this is definitely happening with other types of media.
Yeah, it is. I think we need our own Taylor Swift. Is kind of what you're getting back to. Is we need Taylor Swift to maybe Mimi can take on that mantle, and get us paid by Amazon.
Yeah, I don't even have a rep there. I'm nobody. Despite the all-star status,
Right.
Like, I was so excited about that when I got the all-star. I thought, oh, that's great. Maybe they'll feature, like, one of my many books on, like, their feature page for the all-stars. No love.
Oh.
I know, it's a real bummer. Where are we going with this? Oh, okay. My mind wanders. It's a creative thing, right? Right?
Yes.
It's okay. It's healthy. Yeah.
Yes.
when we kind of try to like hit the brakes and say about how much we don't like the just big picture subscription model, it reminds me of another entity, traditional publishers, and how they felt about ebooks.
Mm.
And I know indie publishers made so much fun and continue to make so much fun of traditional publisher with their sticking their head in the sand and denial about ebooks. And I don't want to be like that. I might not be happy about the subscription model, but I think we can see the writing on the wall. And indies have always been quick to adapt. We are. A lot of us are outside of the box thinkers. So, I mean, of course, when people are happy about something, there's very little to say about it. It's only when people are unhappy that they have a huge list of things that they hate.
Right.
So, I mean, if I started a blog about TV shows or movies, I would probably just talk about the ones I hate, because I would be like, here are the 10 things that are wrong with this, Whereas something I love, I would just be like, I love this, go see it. There's not much to say. So just because you hear a lot of rabble on message boards and stuff about how unhappy people are, it doesn't mean that there aren't a whole bunch of people who are really happy about these changes to KU and the better payout, better representation split. I don't know what the word would be, the economics word. But yeah, I mean, if I'm providing, let's say 10%. Let's say I'm personally providing 10% of all the page enjoyment of people in KU. That's a big number, I know. But why shouldn't I get like 10% of the payment, even if all I have is like one really big, 500,000 page book?
I mean, if you can get people through a 500,000 page book every month, then
Right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of what do you call it? Sort of like an inertia thing happening when someone's enjoying some content. Like, I don't know about you, but you're laying on the couch, you're watching Netflix, the episode ends, and you're like, okay, well, that wasn't great. And then like 10 seconds later, it starts playing the next one, and you're like, oh, I guess I'll watch another one.
Yes.
So I can actually see, with my goggles that see into the future, I can see people bundling up their content into giant anthologies. Like, here are my 20 books that I have written, and if you feel like you would like to just read my entire 20 book collection from page to page, here you go.
That's an interesting point. I haven't
That is
seen
really
it
interesting.
otherwise. Is that you can now bundle huge sets and put them in Kindle Unlimited without the risk of only getting paid as one book, now that it's going to be a full page count kind of thing.
That's right. So you can use that kind of, I mean, I'm going to call it like laziness or inertia. You can use that to work for you. What you would have to do is you would have to have, like, right before, like, your interstitials between your books. I do this with the box set bundles that I've done. I'll have not just a description of the book. This is when I've done multi-author bundles, but I'll put little quotes from readers about, like, what kind of reader experience is this book about? Is this a laugh out loud book? Is this a cry into your pillow book, etc.? So you would put these little interstitials between your books, telling someone, okay, we'll keep moving through the pages if you want to read my next one, which I published, a year after this one, and blah blah. Maybe you could have like a little author's note thing here, like, let me walk you through my entire catalog. Of course, the downside to this is there is that pricing cap on Amazon where anything over $9.99 you get the lesser percentage on. So you might not be super keen to put in, let's say, $25 worth of value of your book for $9.99, or maybe you would. Maybe you'd get some more sales. You can always pull it down. That's the great thing about Amazon. If you put something up, you put up a box set or a bundle or something, you don't like how it affects your other stuff, you take it down. Same with KU. It's 3 months. It's only 3 months. And the books don't actually get a Scarlet A on them for having been in KU.
Right.
When they come out and they go into Barnes & Noble or whatever, there's no Scarlet A.
And I've also heard that, and maybe I don't know, I'm not sure if you guys have heard it as well, because it's all just kind of, I'm not sure, it's unconfirmed, I suppose, in my eyes, but I've heard that when they change this, they're going to be kind of giving everyone a get out of jail free card for the first 90 days, that you're going to be able to opt out early. Because KDP Select, one thing we didn't set up earlier, we did set it up in the primer episode we did, KDP Select is a 90-day exclusivity with Amazon, and that's the quote-unquote downside of going into KDP Select, is that you can't put it on Barnes & Noble or Apple or Kobo or Scribd or Oyster or any of these other markets, right? And
Right.
I've heard that they're going to be offering a kind of opt out early if you want. For me, that's not a huge deal because 3 months in the grand scheme is not life changing.
Right.
But I do want to transition the conversation to what should people, as they're starting, kind of focus more on the early writers as they're putting out their first couple books.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think? What should they be doing? Should they be going to Kindle Select? Should they be focusing, going wide? What are kind of your thoughts, Zach? We can start with you. And you're a little bit more recent, so you just published, I think, for the first time it was this year, at the beginning of this year. So you're kind of 6 months into your journey. What are your thoughts on going forward for some of the newer writers out there?
I would say the same thing that I would have said a month ago or 2 months ago. Like, I think that if you're new and you're building a catalog and you're trying to build a mailing list, I think that KU is a very, very viable option. It has helped me tremendously. I got a ton of traffic through KU that I know I would not have gotten on the other platforms. I know with 100% certainty. I guess I can't say 100% because I didn't go on them and actually try it, but I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have been selling as many books a day on the other platforms as I was getting borrows and KU, and it's helped me build a mailing list. And it's helped me be here. So I think that if you're just starting out and you're getting going, I think that because the thing with KU is that those people are much more likely to borrow your book and give it a shot if they've never heard of you or if you only have like 1 or 2 titles on your page, as opposed to if you go to a page where there's someone has 25 titles on there, and they have 3 complete series. Someone's more likely to spend $2.99, $3.99, $5, $6 on a book. So it's worked for me, and I don't know. I think if you're starting out, it's something you should strongly consider. And another thing I guess I should say on that is that it takes so much more effort on the other platforms to get seen, and this is something we didn't. Amazon's algorithm based as opposed to Kobo and Barnes and Noble and stuff, which are merchandise based, where they have people merchandising those pages. You can get on a lot of visibility on Amazon just from selling books and getting borrows and stuff. And that's one thing I'll be interested in seeing too, is that right now a borrow is 1-to-1 with a sale. I wonder at what point does a borrow become like in the rankings count as one sale? Like how many pages is someone going to have to get to, or what % of the book for that to happen?
I'd heard that the borrows flat will still count the way they are counting now.
Okay, so
regardless
10%.
Regardless of pages read.
Okay, that's cool.
Well, it's the minute they download it. It's the minute they borrow it that it affects your rank.
Yeah, there's no 10% rule on the rank.
Are you sure? Because I thought I've looked it up and I've asked Amazon. I think they said 10%. Are you sure?
Well, sometimes the tech support don't really understand what question you're asking, but some people have done some independent testing. Some people have done some independent testing, just doing one borrow on a book that has no visibility, and the borrow counts toward rank immediately, and it appears to be 1-to-1 as of right now.
Maybe towards
June
the
2015.
rank. Maybe towards the rank is a little bit different. I know that it doesn't show up in your dashboard until they've hit 10%. It does.
That's
say,
right.
Yeah. So so we're talking about 2 different things then. As far as what. Yeah, you're right. So that's interesting. So I guess it'll be the same. But so either way, I think that if you're just starting out, you're more likely, you have a lot better chance of getting visible on Amazon, and you can focus on writing books, and you don't have to worry about emailing so and so on this website and trying to get their help and all this. You're just not going to get the visibility on those websites until you have a big catalog. And so that's my thought.
And so, Mimi, what are your thoughts on some of the newer writers? How should they be approaching this?
The best approach would be to get someone who's in your exact same genre and find out what kind of percentage they're of revenue they're getting from the other venues. Like I have in my new genre, I'm in a mystery subgenre, and I've got a couple friends who are writing in that, and we share data back and forth. And so I'm actually in wide release on that, and I'm about to put out the third book in the series. And I may pull it and go KU. The books are long. They're 80,000 words long, so it just kind of chapped me to get $1.35 for them through KU. So
Right.
I might have come out ahead on revenue, but it's still, it irritates me. So I couldn't do it. But but if we're getting this new paper pages, I may pull that out. I'm getting 30% of my revenue from other venues. I get 10% on iBooks, and I'm getting, strangely enough, 20% on Nook or Barnes and Noble. I have no idea why. It happens to come up under search results for keywords, and the Nook readers, they like the book. They're buying the sequel, so maybe that gives me good placement for number one. My number one is perma-free. I've actually had number one perma-free since I put out book 2. Because my strategy is just give till it hurts. Draft and revise until it hurts. What was your question? Oh, what my advice is? It really is kind of 6 of one and a half dozen the other. You can't really go wrong in your early days as an indie author because, like, honestly, like, not much is going to happen. So, like,
Right.
like I know it's so mean, but like 5% more sales, like at like the newbie author level is like, I don't know, like one more coffee. Like my first year I made nothing. And like that was the heyday of easy indie publishing when like so many people were making so much money. Like I was so dumb. I made nothing for like a long time. So I would say do one or do the other. All things being equal, just don't worry about it and just stay there and go in KU. I don't think you're not going to go wrong by doing that. Sorry, other venues, but it's the
because
truth.
I did that and I have made money. And that was with one book. So
see,
you
that's-
can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also
I will
better.
say Zach's an outlier. So
Yeah.
I think there's better advice now too. Like in 20.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, in like 2010, 2011, it was like 3 people were like really selling well, and like they were like, I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
They didn't even know how they did it. Yeah. Whereas like now there are some savvy people who are in publishing, and things have quietened down. People are not sharing as much information as they used to.
I was about to say, I think one of the important points that you mentioned that is a, and we didn't call it out directly, but we actually have an episode coming up soonish. It's already recorded. Is it's the importance of being involved with your peers, of being communicative and talking with them, being involved in those groups, things like that.
I think is it called benchmarking when they do it in the other business worlds? Is it called benchmarking when you put together a group?
It could probably be a bunch of things.
Yeah, you can. The thing is, you can't do it in public. There's a lot of information that's there's a lot of information that's really useful, but you could never say it publicly because it kind of makes you sound like a jerk. Because we're supposed to pretend that we only do this for love.
I do it for money.
Yeah, like we're not supposed to get all bitter and weird about who got paid $1 more than whom. So.
Right.
So you have to keep that to your private groups.
But I think what you said though too. I think if you're early on, if you can find someone in your genre who, is kind of where you want to be, and people are going to be open. A lot of us are open and stuff, and I've mentioned on other podcasts. James Thorne was a huge help with me when I was early on. So there's people out there. So I think you're right about that, Mimi, for sure.
Well, here's the thing about trying to get help from other people, though, is there are a lot of people who just feel good about sharing their knowledge, and it makes them happy. It makes their ego feel good to have their mentees tell them how wonderful they are. I certainly have a few mentees in my life, but when you're approaching someone, you have to maybe have something to give them. So, if you want to approach someone, you could say like, hey, I want to write in your genre. I'd love to get some tips from you. I know you're busy. Can I do something for you? Like, can I beta read your books? Can I proofread? Here's my skill set. maybe we can have like a 1-hour phone call once a week where I can tell you about my concerns, and in return I'll pay for your cover or something like that. Oh, it's so tough. It's a tough industry, but I think there could be more, what do you call it, like kind of like apprenticeships or internships. I think we'll see that going. I mean, I think I don't have anyone working for me, but I mean, I think it's been happening with some other authors. They'll get someone who's a book blogger who does admin work for them, and then, a year later, this person's putting out books, and they kind of know what they're doing because they were working with an experienced author before that.
Right.
So just an idea, just throwing it out there.
Yeah, so to kind of sum it up, because we're running out of time, to sum it up, Mimi kind of said you're not going to really make any mistakes. So the only negative, downfall of Amazon, of going into KDP Select, the only downfall really is 90 days of exclusivity. After that, your options are open again, and you can do whatever you need to do. And so really 90 days is not all that long. So you're not going to make any mistake if you go initially into KDP Select or hold off or whatever the case is. I think the mistake you can make is being too afraid to experiment and try things for yourself. And try one thing, and if it doesn't work, try something else. And
don't be discouraged if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like you wanted. Yeah.
Exactly. Keep moving forward. It's all learning experiences. So, there was a couple questions I wanted to get to real quick. Lindsay asked if these changes to KU, if we think that it will affect the quality of the books. I think that it will.
Me too.
In a positive way.
Yeah.
Because now the focus is no longer, it really won't be length driven, even though they're paying by length. I don't think that the focus going forward is going to be about the length. The focus, or at least it should be, the focus should be focused on, that's a weird sentence, on writing a good book, right?
Right. That's what it comes back to, right? I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
That's pretty subjective, though. I mean, come on. That's pretty subjective.
No, that's very true. I was thinking that too. Like, I think it's great, and like these other 10 people do too, but
Right.
Well, because then she said, does Kindle have an option to see average percentage of book read when you're reading? Like, would that be an indication that it's not well written or you shouldn't download it or whatever? Like, we don't really know what they're going to have when this drops, right? Like, we don't know any of the
and I don't think they're going to
data.
tell us even that either. I think all we're going to see is total pages read per book. But they're not going to say how many downloads that equals. Like, they're not going to.
She was saying on like the product page, if it would tell readers,
right,
like it, this book on average gets to this percent. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything.
I don't think I don't think they'll do that because they want the money. I mean, they want the sale. They want to satisfy the reader,
right?
But they also want the sale, and so I don't think that they're not going to share that kind of data. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to share it with authors either. Which is unfortunate. I do hope, I'm crossing my fingers that they will put total number of downloads, total pages read, both. I don't think they will. I think you're not going to see number of downloads, you're only going to see number of pages read, unfortunately. Because that giving you that number of downloads will at least, that'll allow you to see on average how much is being read of your book. And so then you'll be able to calculate roughly where are people stopping if they're not getting all the way through.
Well, I've got a few multi-book series, so I can see how many people are presumably reading book 2 because they're getting book 3.
Right. Yeah, and
so it's not going to be a big shocker for me.
I have that comment as well of that. I'm not too worried because I know that people make it all the way through my books when they started, because I can see the sales of them moving through a series.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's the good indication. And I put like the newsletter signups and whatever, those are at the back, and I can see the result of that whenever I get new signups. I know that they're going all the way through and they're clicking that to sign up. And so I think it will affect the quality. I think I'm hoping that the focus will change from writing short books to generate borrows to writing good books to generate borrows.
I think it's the competition that's going to increase the quality. And so I think that the bar for quality is going up because there are more people in the indie author pool. So, I mean, I hope. I mean, we live in great times for storytelling. Some of the TV series that are on now on Netflix and whatnot, they're fantastic. They're wonderful. There's something for everyone. It's a great time.
I started True Detective a few days ago. If you guys haven't seen True Detective on HBO.
Oh yeah, no, we've seen
Phenomenal.
season
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
right?
Phenomenal.
You mean season 1?
Yeah, season 1. I haven't started season 2.
Yeah.
I'm literally halfway through the season finale of season 1 right now. Like I
It's
stopped
awesome.
before we did this.
You
And
stopped?
like how are you doing? It's not like I had to stop watching even though it was really good. It was triggering my nihilism. Like I was actually getting more depressed and more anxious the more I watched it. So
Yes,
I had
agree.
to just stop.
I
Well,
agree with
But
you.
it was
We
really
were taking a
good.
break. We're like, man, we gotta go go out in the sunshine and have some tacos or something before we keep watching.
Yeah. But I really wonderful, wonderful storytelling. And that's another one where some of the episodes they end on cliffhangers and some of them don't.
Right.
Yeah, but you know, if they showed that on some sort of mainstream TV network, a lot of people just would not get it. They would not be into it at all. Like it is only a 5-star within its target market.
Well, and that's
a
as
good
it should
point.
be. Your stuff should be a 5-star within your target market.
Yeah.
And that's a great takeaway also. So perfect. We are kind of out of time. I didn't see any, Nancy, I don't know if you saw any other kind of questions that we can answer quickly or anything. And we are, by the way, we're gonna do a little after party after this.
Yeah.
Zach, Mimi, you're more than welcome to hang out if you can. If not, it's cool. I'm gonna hang out and we can answer more questions in there if anyone wants to join us. We can
Yeah, all after party. Yep.
Cool.
And so Nancy, I'll let you kind of scroll through, see if you see anything. But in the meantime, the deadline is today for the Alpha Smart giveaway. So
yes,
Nancy and I are going to. Nancy's going to sweet talk her husband into helping us. He is going to take all of the submissions that we've received and make them anonymous so that we don't know what they are, and then we'll be able to begin writing them because we do know a lot of the people that have sorry, I'm laughing.
I know.
Zach's holding up. So we do know a lot of people, but so we're gonna make it anonymous and then start reading them probably as early as this weekend, and hoping to have announced winners. I'm guessing what's gonna happen is that we're gonna have the winners chosen hopefully within the next couple weeks, and then I'll start putting together the book that we're gonna put out, and hopefully by the time we do our next live show in a month at the end of July. Hopefully by then we'll have everything be done, and we'll just say here's the winners and here's all the prizes and here's all the cool stuff and done. And so
you get a prize and you get a prize. Woo! We need to have confetti, but at your house, not mine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for volunteering that. And so,
You're welcome.
So perfect. So Nancy, I don't know if you saw any questions. I hadn't seen any, so
no questions.
We didn't really get to.
I don't think so. I think we got to most of the. I mean, someone mentioned that it was kind of unsettling that Amazon had so much power over that. Mimi, you mentioned kind of a revenue drop when Amazon made a change.
Yeah.
But I mean, it sounds like the pros still outweigh the cons for that one. You just kind of roll with the punches. It's not really worth walking away from the platform.
Oh yeah, well that's life.
Right.
Amazon built up a really amazing business model. So that's their right to be the big kraken in the sea while we're the little prawns.
Yep.
Well, and you mentioned you had a big revenue drop, but that Amazon still makes up 70% of your revenue.
Right.
So
yeah, I was on all platforms, and it it dropped really hard. But they weren't stopping people from reading my books. They were just stopping people from buying my books in case they might want to read them later. So it was just a paradigm. Okay. It was just a paradigm shift. I mean, it's been a year. It's a lot. What I noticed though at the time, back in August of 2014, was that this hit romance authors really hard, and there were some other genres where it did not hit so hard. So you can kind of draw a straight line between that and me switching genres. So
yeah,
that as it may. the times are always shifting, and we're all we're all independent players who are all acting in our own self-interest. So things will always shuffle, and they'll always kind of balance out.
Okay, so each prawn in our little boat, just
keep paddling.
Yeah, just stop yelling at the kraken and just go with it.
Just ride the wave. Perfect. Well, I think that's gonna about do it for us. So let you guys give a moment to plug yourself. Zach, where can our listeners go and find your stuff? Check out what you've got going on.
Just ZachBohannon.com. You can find everything there.
ZachBohannon.com. Perfect. And Mimi, I know that you're in a lot of places. Where would you like to send our listeners to?
Well,
check out your book?
these are authors, so go to genrehobo.com for authoring advice.
That's a wonderful, wonderful site. Obviously, we did an entire
It's a very
episode on
small site. I'm not paid by the word.
But it's packed with information. Each word is valuable.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
Perfect. So go check out ZachBohannon.com. Go check out genrehobo.com. We'll have links to everything in the show notes for this episode later. It's the same page that if you're watching us live right now, it's going to be on the same page at some point tonight whenever I get around to it. But you can check everything out there. Go on to iTunes, leave us a review. You can shoot us an email at podcast@authorstrong.com. We are checking those kind of every day. We're usually pretty fast on responding to them. Today is the last day for the deadline for the writing contest for Charlie, the entity who needs milk. I think is what we finally came down.
Entity is a good one, yeah.
It is, because Charlie has come across in many forms so far from what people that have told me. And
it
so
has.
It's not the guy who needs milk. It's the whatever
entity.
So, yeah, so it'll be interesting. We're gonna have a lot of fun with that. We'll announce it next time.
We will. That'll be good.
Zach, Mimi, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
You.
It's been a nice little discussion.
Us.
Yeah, thank you very much. And then I think that's going to do it for us. I don't know, Nancy, if you have any other closing thoughts for us.
No, just more thinking,
More stuff to think about. Perfect.
Always.
And we are going to have a little after party. We'll post a link in the comments after this, and then you guys can join us. But I think that's going to do it for us now. So for Zach Bohannon, for Mimi Strong, and for Nancy Elliott, I'm Matt Morris. This has been the Author Strong Podcast. Take care.